We are glad that you've decided to join us on this Monday. Hopefully on this start of spring that you are anxiously ready for some warmer weather and ready to get into the sun and get outside and enjoy time just soaking up some vitamin D. We're going to get into God's Word tonight. Our chapters today were Judges 13, 14, and 15. And so in those chapters, you see kind of the story of Samson. Now, part of it, right? Because chapter 16 gets into his downfall and his death and his burial. But 16 really kind of gives you the crux of his impact as a leader for God's people. The sad thing about Samson is that he had so much potential. I want you to think about that for a moment. What kind of potential are you holding on to, right? That God has given you. He has anointed you, gifted you with so many talents and abilities that you just are failing to use to the capacity with which He wants you to use it because you are just giving up on the potential, right? Unmet potential, right? So let's think about Samson for a second. Samson, his story is filled with irony. So we know from the beginning of his story that he was given incredible potential, right? No other deliverer in the book of Judges matches his potential. Nobody matched his potential. If you read through the story, no one matched his potential. He was called from the beginning, right? In verse 13, it says, it gives you the story, chapter 13, it gives you the story of how he was going to be born, right? So he is given incredible power and a calling from God from the womb, right? He was stirred as a young child by the Spirit of God. That's an important connection. He had potential. He was empowered with extraordinary gifts by the Lord, and he was granted exceptional opportunities for heroism that God had given him the ability, right? And so the narrator actually devotes more attention to Samson than any other deliverer, which is why most of us know who he is, because of just how much information is given about him in the text, right? But despite all these advantages and everything that he was able to accomplish, and this special attention that he received, Samson accomplishes less on behalf of his people than any of his predecessors, right? He has all the potential, but accomplishes less than any of them. In fact, chapter 16 reveals to us that it wasn't until his death that he accomplished the greatest act of heroism for God's people, but it wasn't even in leading them. It was as a prisoner who humbled himself and finally was able to be used of God. It's a lesson for us today in thinking about potential, right? So if you read these chapters and you study the text, you see a sad tale of somebody who had all the potential in the world, but yet just failed. Now, what kind of potential are you holding on to in your life? What has God gifted you in? What has God given you the ability to do? How has God opened up doors for you to make the most of those opportunities? Let's not squander the potential that God has given us. Let's be faithful to follow Him in our lives. And so I hope you should read those chapters today and that you hear the word of the Lord today. We love you guys, and we'll see you later. Take care.